Hey guys, welcome.
Hi, Colin. Hello, everybody.
Good to have everyone here. Thanks for coming.
Hello?
Hey there. Yep, got you now. Just for a minute. Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll get started. I myself was out last week, so I have been doing a little bit of catching up, mostly code reviews, but things seem to have really moved along over the last week. It looks like Bob and Piotr were very busy getting V27 going, and also a couple other people. So yeah, we'll go over all that stuff, but I think most of the stuff will be related to the final things we want to get into V27 and any of the results that we got out of that, out of the beta testing. So yeah, I think the only thing that I have been doing other than some of the code reviews has been testing the RocksDB upgrade path, which Ricky had been working on. And as far as running it on my local computer, I ran it on the live ledger, which I've had for LMDB. I made a couple tweaks to it so the counters were more accurate, but other than that, it functionally seemed to work. And I was running it for a while, so that seems good on my end. But yeah, I guess we should see if anyone else has had issue with it. And yeah, Bob, do you want to go over some of the stuff you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. I have one question regarding this RocksDB migration. Did you do it while the node was running, or did you do it with the node shut down?
Shut down.
Okay. Is it supposed to be like that? Or do we support a live migration?
I can't imagine the live migration would work. I mean, personally, I never access the node except for some of the like simple command line tweaks while the node is running. Um, yeah, I don't think it would work. I think there's going to be
Okay.
issue with it.
So just further understanding, if I don't say that we do it, but if we encourage people to move to RocksDB, this migration takes a while, like an hour. It took like an hour for me, and having your node down for an hour is not ideal.
Yeah.
What would how would we do it in the best possible way?
Yeah, that's I guess the one thing that I didn't do yet was look to see if I can speed it up. I did see that one thing is we are opening write transactions for pretty much every single item that's migrated, so I can't imagine that's performant. So I can look at it and see if we can batch it and do the upgrade there. I mean, personally, I don't think an hour is the worst amount of downtime, but yeah, I mean, as quick as possible would be better. It is a large file. It's almost 200 gigs.
Yeah, but the RocksDB file is much smaller, like half the size.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, so I'll go over my stuff. So mainly beta testing. I guess most of the people have seen the results, which look pretty promising. So what we did, we started like usual, and most of the nodes were still on LMDB, and there we saw throughput that was comparable to the V26 with about 900 CPS. The beta network is a rather small network with just like 10 to 12 nodes and 8 or 9 representatives. But still, by moving from LMDB to RocksDB, we could almost double our throughput. And what we also saw is that the confirmation durations for legit blocks went way down. So on LMDB, the very first test with this 900 CPS, it took mostly 7 to 10 seconds to confirm a non-spam block. While moving to RocksDB, it was mostly below 3 seconds, which is a good improvement, and it got even better with this is originator flag that Piotr introduced, that was introduced for the second round of beta testing, where we have reached above 2,000 confirmations per second, and legit blocks confirm within mostly 2 seconds. But still, this is a very small network, and what I did is I added some bootstrapping nodes to the beta network, and the throughput basically reduces linearly. So if you have double amount of nodes, the throughput is cut in half. The good news is that it doesn't impact legit blocks, so they confirm as quickly as before. But still, there is something. I think representatives are serving a lot of bootstrap requests, and it might not be the ideal thing to do for representatives. So if they spend a lot of CPU or resources on bootstrapping other nodes, they have less available for confirming blocks. But yeah, that was just a side note. And we are now all set for the third round of beta testing, which is really interesting with the limited buckets. So instead of having 5,000 active elections, just spam elections, they are now limited to 150, which should speed up the legit blocks, non-spam blocks, confirmation durations even further. So I hope to see way below 2 seconds per legit block on the beta network. And that was mostly it. So posting the results, preparing the tests, and keeping everyone updated.
Nice. Okay. Have we done any testing on that PR before? For some reason, in my mind, I thought that PR was half done. But I guess it is. We're thinking it's good.
We are testing on integration branches. Was that the question? So it's not develop or the release candidates. So we are doing type branches with a lot of pull requests that have not yet been merged, and we add them to these integration branches so that we can move independently from the node development, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. That'll speed things up. But the question was just about that PR, which the bounded election buckets with dynamic. That's the PR that you added.
Okay. This is in the latest integration branch, which I've just posted just before this developer call. So not all the representatives have upgraded yet. So we didn't do extensive tests on that yet.
Okay. Okay, cool. Very good. And Piotr, how's everything been with you? You've been busy.
I am very happy with the recent beta results. We managed to keep a pretty satisfying pace with our beta releases. I think we did 2 releases last week and another this week. So for me, this is a very good test of the integration branches style. So don't wait for develop, just merge some stuff into the integration branch and test it. We wanted to achieve for V27. We wanted to achieve this nice confirmation time, even when we are spammed, and I think we achieved it. And just to remind everyone, before we usually timed out when the spam was ongoing, what you would see is that your transactions would time out and they wouldn't confirm within 10 or 15 seconds. And right now we are seeing, I think, like 5 seconds for LMDB, sub-second for RocksDB. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob. But I think with this is originator PR, even LMDB works fine. So we don't have to rush the RocksDB upgrade for a live network for now. We should probably encourage more active node maintainers, node administrators to upgrade to RocksDB to potentially shake out any potential problems, and only after that, maybe in v28 or v29, recommend exchanges to upgrade, because it might be messy. It might be a messy process.
Yeah, that's a good idea. As soon as we get what we want for v27, I'm gonna upgrade the NF reps for it. So at least we'll have some of them that I can directly access. And then, yeah, I think it's a good plan. And yeah, I think it's very, very impressive how much you guys have improved all these things. It's a lot of very fine detail that needed to be tweaked in the code in order to get all this performance improvement. So yeah, when we see this, just remember how much work it took you guys and everyone to make that happen. So
yeah,
big
and
thanks.
shout out to beta developers, because a lot of this, a few PRs from this third round of testing is based on the insights that we got from actually running the node on beta. This bootstrap bug and its originator flag were inspired by beta results. Yeah, let's see how it works. We already have a few ideas, a few goals for v28, mainly network related. Yeah, it was a lot. If there are questions about specific PRs, I'll be happy to answer, but there were a lot of PRs recently.
Yeah. Well, let's just go over a couple. I think so. Bob made a list of the things that I think we have for the final scope for v27. So that is the incremental backoff for the local broadcaster. I think there was only one small question I had on that, and it was about the queue size of 8K. If that's enough, do you think that's enough?
Well, it was based on live traffic, expected live traffic. So what this, just to remind, what this local block broadcaster does is that if someone submits a block to a node, let's say you're running a wallet node, so people, your users make a transaction and it needs to enter the network. So it makes an RPC call to the node, and this block goes into this local block broadcaster.
Yep. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
And
we shouldn't need to really increase that more.
8,000 is pretty large size, I would say, even larger than necessary. And if a node operator finds themselves running out of the space, they probably should implement some rate limiting.
Yeah.
Because it should be a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, their transactions would probably be deprioritized anyway. Okay, so that one is resolved. The fixed bootstrap to bootstrap processor notifications, that one, it looks like it's resolved, so it just needs to be committed. The don't wait for cancellation signals, that's already committed.
Oh, that was actually a pretty interesting bug in the interaction between synchronous code and asynchronous code. And we need to be very careful because it's very tricky to get everything right.
So that one, I guess, wasn't caught with TSAN, but that was caught when the actual deadlock happened.
Yeah. I don't think even Tisan would catch it, because it's not a standard deadlock. It's an operation queued on a thread pool, and this operation needs a lock, and the lock is currently held, and we are waiting for the result of the operation queued on the thread pool. I have no idea how we can automatically catch this type of errors.
Yeah.
We probably have to be very careful.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a priority inversion. Like the waiting is higher priority than doing because it's a queue. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, good thing we got that. Deadlocks are not fun, especially I know probably about 6 versions ago we had a couple in the release, which was not good.
What I think is important to highlight is that because we had a dedicated thread that was processing the connection cleanup, finding this deadlock was very easy because we had this stack trace. If this was queued somewhere in the IO context or whatever, then it would be much harder. So explicit threads make finding these bugs easier.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of seems like, I don't know if it's an oversight or tooling needs to be improved, but one issue I can definitely see with coroutines, style stuff, if they don't have a thread and they're all like in a pool, is that you can't debug what's waiting in the background. I don't think you can. Okay. So that one is good. Nice find. The bounded election buckets with dynamic reprioritization. So, okay, so I'll go over a review on that one. That one's already going to beta to test. Yeah, I want to get one of these in here. This is fine.
What I'm planning to do for this bounded election buckets with dynamic reprioritization is write a few tests, because this should be a working PR, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. But a few unit tests would be nice, because I think I submitted it without unit tests. Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, if we can get those in there, it's always better to test it than to leave it to beta testing for these type of critical things. Good. So this is in beta, waiting for test. Review. The migrate LMDB to RocksDB. So that one I have marked. I'm gonna see if I can batch these things. And then the originator flag. I guess we should just figure out what we wanted to do on that. So are you thinking we would put that in this version? Because like I said, it's just opt-in, so we can stick it in.
It's part of the integration branch, of the previous integration branch, and it made quite a significant difference for LMDB of how fast they see the legit blocks under spam situations.
Okay. So we'll get this in. And then I guess the only question is, do we want this to be is originator or is requester? I guess the only reason I brought it up is just, I guess it felt like it would be more consistent style, on the flags between the different messages. Not that that's the most important thing. But what did you think? Do you think we need to change it, or do you think it's fine how it is, Piotr?
I wrote you a short reply. So the reason why we needed the is rebroadcasted flag on a vote message is that by default we had to keep all received votes as if they were generated by the peer because of compatibility. Previous versions didn't set this flag, so so we had to set it, and like changing this flag is trivial because you just have to invert a single check. In fact, you can add another method, is rebroadcasted, which just takes the value of is originator and negates it.
Yeah.
I mean,
The only thing I was thinking of is more like if somebody else is looking at the protocol as far as the specification, and they look at these flags, they're kind of like inversions of each other. I don't know. It's not the biggest deal, but
the reason why I chose the is originator, because I very well know where to set the is originator flag, and it should be set in the local block broadcaster in a single place. Setting the is rebroadcasted flag would require setting it everywhere, so I guess you can do it in a constructor. It just seems to me that is originator is simpler, but both would work.
Okay.
I mean,
well, we can leave it then. That's fine. And then
what others think? Like,
yeah, it'd be nice to have Gustav on this one since he's the other.
yeah, Gustav is out today.
Do we know when he's going to be back?
In about 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, really? That's right. It's long. Okay. Well, it's not a big deal. So we can leave it as it is, and yeah, it'll be fine. It's pretty self-explanatory what the flag is, so they'll just have to set it correctly. Okay, we'll leave that. So I think that one is ready also. So I think the only ones we don't have reviews on is the bounded cementing, the bound election buckets, and then the RocksDB migration needs the batching if we can, which we should be able to do. Yeah, I think that's all we got, right, for V27. So after we commit all these things, we can make the V27 branch and start the RC process, I think.
There was one more community request to add an additional bucket for the faucet nodes, that the low amount from faucets would not fall into the same bucket as the spam, so one raw spam. I added a pull request for this. It's 4661 to just add one additional bucket. So we had 63 instead of 62 buckets. The question is this something that we need? Because a counter argument to this would be that even with this additional bucket, it would be rather trivial for an attacker to fund like 1 million or 10 million of these accounts with the lowest amount, and it could still be spammed for like a cost of 20 or so nano.
And why exactly do we need this bucket? Why it needs to be in this specific range?
It's what the most wallets support. So most wallets have like 6 decimal places. So if you want to do a test transaction in your wallet, you will most likely do the smallest amount possible in the wallet, which is not 1 raw, but like one, I don't know. Yeah. So that's the argument for the range, for the specified range.
Well, it kind of makes sense. And I have nothing against this. It won't be resistant to spam, but maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, when I saw it, I mean, I can see the arguments for it. It's just kind of in the range of what people use. It might separate out some of the separate out some of the traffic of what people shouldn't be doing, which is packing data into like the lower 32 bits or whatever, with zeros in it.
And there was one more question because I chose 2 to the power of 80, which is actually not the smallest amount, .1, but .2. So we would have to make it 2 to the power of 79 instead, so that the range is correct for the minimal amount supported by wallets. But I didn't like the 79, that's why I put in the 80. But yeah. I guess more correct would be 79 to the power of 79.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to go through the effort of doing it, we should make sure it's useful. Yeah, I don't really see a problem with doing that. I mean, what does it do? How many buckets do we have? We have, 63. So it just increases the amount of spammable bandwidth by 1 over 63.
Yeah, but it also almost doubles it because it's not very practical to spam any other higher bucket. Even the third bucket is not super practical to spam. So we would have 2 spam buckets with about 300 active elections, which shouldn't be a problem with the V27 release.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, how about should we like wait on this one so we're not changing 2 things at once? Like we did all this work to improve the spam resistance. Maybe we shouldn't push our luck on it and decrease our resistance to it also in this version.
From my point of view, the impact on spam resistance is like it doubles spammable buckets. I think we'll be fine, but of course you never know. But no, I don't think we shouldn't worry about this impacting our spam resistance too much. If anything, this might actually improve it a bit because you would need to spam both buckets to really gain anything.
Yeah, and I guess another factor is we're limiting each bucket size from, the max of 5,000, which it can occupy now, down to the 120, whatever.
I think we'll be fine. We can add it.
Okay.
So I'll just change it to have 79 instead of 80. So it effectively has the smallest possible amount of that can be set in wallets.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, cool.
And there is this bounded cementing PR that I submitted yesterday. It's, in my opinion, very important to have event DV27. It wasn't tested yet. It's only part of this third round of beta testing. But it is important. Otherwise, the amount of memory taken by cementing of blocks could potentially be the whole ledger, which is many gigabytes of memory, which is too much. What I think that the resulting code is pretty simple, actually. So the necessary changes were quite minimal, and it makes me wonder a bit why previously we needed this complicated classes to handle it, and the idea behind this algorithm seems very simple.
Yeah, I don't know why it was like that before. I also had that kind of criticism. I think I gave this to a couple people to look at, but it never got done. It seemed very simple. Yeah, so I'll review that. I too agree that we shouldn't let it be unbounded, even if we suspect it won't be a problem. Because that always burns us. Like, we've had unbounded things way back in the day, and that's always a problem. So that's fine. I did look at it briefly, and it looks like what we were talking about, plus a couple other cases that needed to be covered that weren't obvious in the description. So I think it'll be fine. I'll go through it. And yeah, let's get that one in too. It's good. It's already being tested. Cool. I think that is probably it from us. Does anyone have any questions? I think there's one. There was a question about issues with RocksDB and V25. Yeah, there was. But no, we don't think it's an issue anymore. We did talk about that, I think 2 weeks ago in the channel. So I'll just let you go through the recording on it. It's near the end. We talked about it.
I have one more question for bootstrapping nodes. One test I did was bootstrapping nodes. I saw that they are republishing blocks that they activate. So basically very old blocks are published when the bootstrapper starts an election for it. And I think we now have a block source, and I wonder if we could just not publish blocks that come in through bootstrapping.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to do that.
Is that it is an old behavior. However, it might be useful sometimes, especially if the network is desynchronized for some reason.
There was an old pull requests with a heuristic to only republish blocks after this initial confirmation height, but it never got merged.
Okay, so the reason why blocks are republished, even with this block source that we track, is that right now, in this newest version, blocks are republished by the active elections. And active elections don't track the block source, so they are activated, and from the perspective of a bootstrapping node, it doesn't really know how the election got started. There are heuristics possible, but in principle, it's very hard to distinguish whether the election is started because the block is confirmed for the rest of the network and we are only the ones behind, or if the election is for block that is yet to be confirmed by the network.
Yep. Yeah, I ran into that, I think way back in the day. This was an issue too. And I guess the one thing that comes to mind is that depending on how well the optimistic confirmation works, that will be the factor by which it reduces basically the useless broadcasting.
I think the block is published when the election is activated, so right away.
Yeah, but if it's optimistically confirmed, then everything underneath it's implicitly confirmed. It'll never be activated.
Yeah, correct. Optimistic election scheduler. I confused with hinted. Yeah, you're right. So only the latest block in the chain will be activated, and all the rest will be confirmed with this confirmation height processor without an active election.
Well, anyway, we should be handling this relatively well with this fair queue. This might put a bit more load on the PR nodes because they are receiving blocks they don't need, but they should just check they have this block, ignore it, and proceed as normal. So it's
yeah. I kind of feel my feeling is that we haven't noticed it. Maybe it's worth quantifying just how many of these blocks are broadcast out, and if I have a feeling the number is going to be less than 1%, and if that's true, I think we should just ignore it. Also, because people aren't bootstrapping all the time, so I don't think it'll be an issue. I mean, that's really the other case, is that when they're bootstrapping, there's not many people bootstrapping simultaneously, the actual full ledger. So only a select amount of peers are going to get that broadcast, and it'll be eaten because the other ones won't rebroadcast it anyway.
Yeah, it was rather meant for malicious bootstrappers that just do it for fun. Because I was bootstrapping 8 nodes, and it generates on the beta, it generates about 500 blocks per second incoming blocks to the nodes, to the PRs.
Well, we should be handling that. Whether a good actor does it or bad actor, we should be handling it anyway. So that's something we shouldn't be trying to fix it on the client end, if I can say that, but on the server end, on the PR, it should handle well whether someone is malicious or someone is good faith but just suboptimal. We should focus on working well, whether someone publishes those blogs or doesn't.
Yeah, and I think two things that come to mind in this release that mitigate that greatly is the fair queuing, like you said, and then probably the no, I can't think of the other one. Yeah, anyway, I think
we don't republish. Previously, we when we received blocks, we just republish them. Now we don't do that.
Okay,
that's another problem. That said, we certainly need to look into optimizing our traffic usage or bandwidth usage, because our scaling right now is not optimal. We scale with something like our number of nodes squared, something like that. So this won't scale well to 10,000 nodes. This might scale to 1,000 nodes, but 10,000 is out of reach right now. We need to rethink our network graph for V28 or V29.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. Right now it's totally connected, which is naive and simple, but it's, like you said, quadratic. So totally agree. But one step at a time. We've made several steps actually this time, so that's very helpful. Yeah, so I suspect it's not an issue. I mean, unless it pops up in some performance graph, I don't think it's going to be an issue, mainly because of the fair queue. And then the originator. That's the other thing. I think.
Yeah, this originator that helps.
And then we have to realize that the fact is if somebody wants to blast blocks at the node, they don't need to be bootstrapping to do it. They can just pick blocks off the disk and then send it. So I don't think it's something. The only problem would be is if it affected greatly bootstrapping speed. But I'm doing a bootstrap using RocksDB on a little Raspberry Pi that I have just to test it out. And yeah, it's going very quickly. I'm very happy with it. And this is on live with V27 off of develop. So very happy. It's going well.
Oh, that's cool. I remember somewhere around V22, V21 maybe, running Node on a Raspberry Pi became infeasible.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's not the smallest device. It's got like 8 gigs of RAM embedded, and then I have a little M2 SSD or NVMe drive attached to it. So it does have 512 gigs of NVMe. So that's fast. But anyway, it's not having a problem. There's no fan on it. Just powered by a USB cable. So it's going away. It's nice.
Yeah, RocksDB really makes a difference with regards to the disk, because in local tests I see like 50,000 operations per second on my disk when running LMDB, and RocksDB I can hardly see it's always below 1,000. So it's really 2 orders of magnitude difference, even more.
Yeah. Well, it's really good. I'm glad we've maintained it. We didn't remove it back in the day, and I'm glad people worked on it. I know the store code was a huge pain in the ass to keep them both maintained for a long time, but I think it brought us benefits. And yeah, now we're at a performance point where we can actually see this difference very clearly. I kind of suspected. I don't know, I was up in the air for a while as to whether or not we'd ever see this performance. In the beginning, I was fairly sure RocksDB would be faster, but then we didn't see actual performance metrics change. But that's just because the rest of the node is so slow that the I/O didn't matter. But now it does, and now it's clear. So
yeah, there are still some problems that are pretty obvious. You might have missed it, but I published one of those problems last week, I think, where we are running legacy bootstrap code on I/O threads, and that is using database heavily. It doesn't impact LMDB, ironically, that much, because LMDB is really good at reading, and RocksDB is a bit slower when it comes to reading, and it starts to very significantly light up for nodes that are using legacy bootstrap and running RocksDB. So that's part of the node that, in my opinion, needs to be just thrown away and replaced.
yeah. Well, maybe that's one of the first things we should do once we cut the V27 branch is just get rid of it early in the process, because that's kind of, it's the biggest chunk of code. It's been a workhorse for a long time. It's been a pain in the ass for a long time, but, it's mostly worked to varying degrees. But yeah, just axe it. If you want to axe it, you can go for it.
Okay. Yeah, that will be satisfying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? It doesn't seem like it. I hope everyone is as happy and as pleased with this as we are. It'll be really nice. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. See you on the internet. Bye.
See ya. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.